Welcome to Containerized Conversations, where we try to containerize our conversation. I'm Jessica Caffarelli.
And I'm Josh Warhurst. Thanks for tuning in as we dive into some of our favorite topics, one containerized thought at a time. So a friend of mine knew that we did this podcast, and he said, hey, I'm not looking to break into DevOps or anything, but I have a question for you. You've thought about DevOps a lot. Yeah. I've been a developer. This is my friend speaking. I've been a developer for 10 plus years, and like he loves leak code, right? He loves like the problem solving. He loves like that hyper focus on the code, and has very strong opinions about AI. And kind of the generic slop that's written in the world today. So he's that kind of like traditional developer, but he was struggling because nowadays everybody's asking for some level of ops experience, right? So before he was like, oh, I'll write an app and it will do everything that the requirements say. And he was just the perfect like dev. And now they're saying, hey, deploy that to Kubernetes. Oh, understand like how the networking is working. That was not his world before. So that's a problem that he's had to deal with, is the DevOpsification of his dev job. And he was asking, hey, I have this company. They have a learning budget every year of X amount of money. And what should I learn, right? What should I spend my time? What'll demystify the sort of DevOps in my daily job? He doesn't want to become a DevOps person necessarily.
So I'm going to start off by saying, to your friend and other people who are listening, this is common. Everybody who is a developer today, who's been a developer for the past 5, 10, 15 years, everyone's hitting this issue. And so you're not alone. And I want to start off by saying it's not a problem that you want to do just code. There's just certain people like those certain types of very exact things. Having experts that know that in depth, it's impossible to be an expert in depth in it and also know everything else. And I think that's like the misunderstanding that companies have today. Now, with that being said, stop thinking of things as that's a DevOps job. I think the most important thing for your friend and other people who are listening is stop thinking like job functions. And I think that's the most important thing to start doing. It goes back to like the 7 habits. We are releasing it soon. It's coming. So for our listeners, they'll hear all about this. But the one thing that's beaten into your head is paradigms, right? A paradigm is the way you view things. And when they say shift your paradigm, what they're saying is start viewing something from a different way. You are stuck viewing it in this certain way, and you need to figure out how to shift your paradigm so you start thinking about it in some other way. So that's my first response for anybody that's kind of in this situation.
How do you just shift a paradigm though, right? Like your paradigm as a developer is to see everything in the eyes of the very specific thing that you're working on, right? If you're, to use a funny analogy, if your whole thing is embedded code to make coffee machines work, and you're really good at making coffee machines work, like how do you see it any other way, right? Your whole job and everything that you've been asked to do for the past decade is making coffee machines work, and you've done it perfectly, right?
No, and I think honestly, people are going to roll their eyes at me when I say this, especially the people who know me, but pick up the 7 habits and at least read the first 3 chapters, because I do think that book, and you can disagree with me now that you've read it. I wouldn't have allowed you to disagree with me before, but I do think that the book has strategies in there to help you shift your mindset, right? Would you agree or disagree? Like, what do you think?
No, I'd agree. I think part of finding a paradigm, or part of shifting your paradigm, is finding somebody else's paradigm. It's having those conversations. If you're talking to other people who are coffee machine developers, and everybody you talk to is a developer that works on the same product, you're not going to change your view of the product. You might change some minor view. You might start thinking of it as less of a hardware issue and more of a software issue, or less of a software issue and more of a hardware issue. You might think of it in these ways, but you're still coming at it from the same view of what you've always looked at. Whereas when you talk to somebody else and you actually listen to them and think of them not as like somebody who has a wrong impression and you're just trying to find holes in their argument, but really trying to understand where they're coming from, that's
And that's
how
it
you
right
shift
there.
your paradigm. Yeah.
That's it right there. And that is what I that's the clear message I want to try to give is when your company is telling you to do quote unquote DevOps work, stop thinking about it like that. Try to understand what your company is actually trying to tell you. Because what they're truly trying to tell you is they want you to be a full stack engineer. They do not want you to be just a job title. They want you to own the product that you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the mindset shift. And I think it's really important because if you think about it as, oh, this is a DevOps job, this is someone else's job, and now I'm doing it. When you start thinking about it like that, you know, you're going to have like a kind of like a negative conduct to it because you're going to be like, well, why am I not getting paid double? I'm doing two people's roles. Why am I doing this? Why am I not doing this? But it's not that you're doing multiple people's jobs. You might be doing less development. You might not be doing development all day long, but what you are doing is you're learning and understanding the full product from start to finish that you're working on. And I think that's, at least at companies that I've been at that pushed everyone to do more than just their job titles, is because under the covers, the company was trying to shift their workers from a specific job function to more of a product team. And they just weren't clear about it. And I think that's the big problem. I think that's the big problem with a lot of these companies today. They should be more clear about their expectation to their employees. And then sometimes they're not as clear. And it's because they don't fully understand it. They don't really understand what they're really asking.
And to leapfrog off of that, right? It's going down a slightly different route, but he was saying like his company is asking all of their developers, they just have this big layoff. And then they're also hiring people at the same time. And his pet theory is that they just like threw everybody's reports into the like mid-year reports into like an AI generator, and then it said who should we fire? But because it all kind of seemed very sudden. But his company is asking him for AI literacy, right? Like that's a skill set that they're asking for. And like, how does anybody know how to judge that right now? I think you could have a team that wants people to understand certain aspects of it, of the tool of using AI. But I think he also feels like this company, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. We're not even naming him here, but you know, I think he can feel like this company doesn't know what it's doing. It just wants everybody to be some kind of generalist. And some of it is because there's negative feelings about the company, right? At this feeling, you feel like they're not actually trying to make a better product. You feel like they're trying to chase some laser pointer, right?
Yeah. I mean, so here's the problem though. The problem is if you do start talking about like making a good product, then unfortunately you're on the losing side if you say that you should orient a company on job function. There is so much research out there, and Gartner is like the leading company. So I highly suggest everyone go and at least look at Gartner, Gardener, I think. Gardener. Yeah. But go look them up. And you know, they released the state of the DevOps. I hate it when they call it DevOps, but they released the state of the DevOps. But everything in there is them showing a company and how well it's doing. And they're able to attribute a lot of the quote unquote DevOps theories to these healthy companies. And the ones that are embodying the DevOps theories the most are the ones that are being the most healthiest. But the problem is and why I keep saying quote unquote DevOps, it's because DevOps isn't really a person's job anymore. The whole theory and idea and all these companies that are moving towards it, it's just a bunch of full stack engineers that don't have a job function tied to a job title. It's a product that they're tied to. And unfortunately, for all of these research papers show that companies operate a lot healthier, a lot more efficiently. Customers are a lot more happier. There's a lot more money being made at these companies that follow that type of full stack engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, that is why all of these companies are trying to go towards that. But the problem is they don't read the papers, so they don't fully know how to do it. And so that's why a lot of this friction happens when a company does do transformations like this.
They just have ChatGPT say, give me the highlights. And then they say, oh, I guess I can do that without really understanding what it is they're trying to do.
Yeah. But, going back to the book, I want to say this, and then I'll let you talk. I want to give our listeners psychological air, right? Again, back to the 7 habits here. You're correct. There is no way you can do everything. No, I will not argue that in any way, shape, or form. And I also will argue, you cannot be an in-depth expert in coding efficiency if you're also trying to figure out how Kubernetes runs, how to stand up a pod, all of that stuff. The problem is I can't disagree with you that. So I want you to know I agree with everything that you're screaming at at your podcast device about. I 100% agree with you, but unfortunately, this is the direction that a majority of companies are going in. And so it's a lot easier to go with the flow than it is to try to swim against the current.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and some of that is he's looking at what are the skills, right? Like plainly as a developer, right?
Yeah.
There are some big skills that they've had to learn over the past couple of years. And now they're saying, oh, also learn all these other skills. And the other skills are kind of like, the star, right? It's like the wild card.
Yeah.
It's like everything else. And you're like, okay, there's 400,000 tools out there.
You make a good point. So let's say, okay, you agree now. I will stop talking about this as this is a DevOps job. And I'll think about it as more of a full stack engineer. But hey, man, listen, you're ranting about this and I still don't know where to start. You were supposed to help me.
Right. Where do you start? Where do you start?
Yeah. No. Okay. So you're a full stack engineer. You've written, your front end. Let's say you've also written a back end, right? How do you stand it up? And that's where you start. Imagine yourself as starting your own company and you were going to stand up these pieces of software. How are you going to stand it up? How are you going to deploy it? How are you going to make sure your customers can access it? You don't need to know every single tool out there. Don't get overwhelmed. There's a lot. I definitely agree. But I can almost guarantee that there is a small sliver that you can learn. Let's say your app is written in Node.js. Let's say you're only working on that Node.js application front end. You don't even work on the Java backend. The first place to start is just knowing how do you build that application, how do you package it, and then how do you stand it up in a production environment.
In other words, how does it get to your customers?
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's get away from websites, right? Because I feel like, okay, there's a lot of DevOps technologies that are web first, right?
Yeah.
Things like Kubernetes that are designed around handling the world's traffic, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like that. And my friend, for instance, he works at a company where they use Kubernetes. They use Argo CD to actually do their deployments.
Nice.
And he said, actually, Argo CD, no issues there. He loves it.
Nice.
Like Kubernetes is something that he needs to develop. Networking.
Yeah.
Right. I kind of said, hey, you know what? Like Linux is one of those things that you learn 5 minutes and it goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, here's a secret that that you guys can't tell anybody, but I know almost nothing of networking.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
You don't need to know networking. You need to know just enough. From an individual contributor perspective, don't learn everything. Look at your group and what is it you guys spend a lot of time on? And I would say focus on that. So for your friend, is the problem like the application keeps crashing in Kubernetes? Then I would say you need to learn how Kubernetes auto healing works. Mm-hmm. Don't learn networking. Don't learn ingress rules for Kubernetes clusters. Don't learn infrastructure as code. Just learn how does health checks work on a pod. Take a page out of Josh's book. Figure out what the biggest problem is in your team that you guys are spending a lot of time trying to figure out, and then learn that. And then once that's solved and you solve it for good so it doesn't come up again, focus on the next problem and the next problem and the next problem. And you spend only 20% of your time, still do code while you can, but 20% of your time, do something else.
I think one of the points, and I'm going to come back to what you said, but one of the points that he was saying is that, like, he doesn't know how long he's going to be at the company, right?
Yeah.
And I know in my last job search that all my DevOps skills, like, I was looking for traditional developer positions and people like, ooh, Kubernetes experience. And, like, there was a lot where that was the reason I got in the door, right? Was a lot of the DevOps skills. What are the skills that people are looking for nowadays?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I like that. Yeah.
Yes, you can go and say, look at your current job and you can say, yeah, you know what? Pod auto healing is the biggest, I don't understand why things fail and they restart and whatnot. But at the end of the day, they also want to work at some other company that's going to have a total different set of problems.
Yeah.
And maybe the pod auto healing is a way of getting into, like, okay, that's how, Kubernetes lifecycle management works. And I'm going to understand these next things. And that's like a good diving point into the pool. But it also could just be that he says, I just need a broad experience of Kubernetes so that when somebody says, replica set, it doesn't go in one ear and out the other, that it's actually something I understand, and it's just a Kubernetes basics, right? So, the other thing I was going to say is that there are a lot of things as a traditional developer that, DevOps is so focused in the cloud world, I think sometimes, right? A lot of the tools are called cloud first, right? Or cloud native technologies.
Cloud native. Yeah.
Exactly. And the truth is, it's like in the microprocessor world, right? When I was first doing code, right, the goal was that you make this code so perfect that when they go and build out the thing, they pre-program the chip with your code, and then it's never updated in the field, right? That's the final version. Just like when you got one of those little devices, like a Game Boy in the 1990s, right? The Game Boy was never over the air updated. They just figured it out what they needed on that device, and that was it. That was the final version, right? And so a lot of the stuff was not important until the last 10 years, when everybody's expecting that you can update on a Thursday evening and to every single device across the world. But for my friend who's looking at what skills and what things he should be learning next, I mean, I gave him the simple stuff, right? A little bit of networking, a little bit of Kubernetes. This is not a sponsored video, but Code Cloud has a really good Kubernetes course that's like super hands-on. There's a lot of cool stuff out there that, like, just make learning fun. And I feel like part of this job is just learning all the time, right? And staying ahead of what's happening in the field and not dismissing any of it just because it sounds dumb.
Yeah, no, I mean, if someone was going to come to me and ask me, how do I learn this stuff right now? My response would be, get yourself, if you have a gaming computer, uninstall Windows and install Ubuntu. And if you don't, if you don't have a gaming computer, get something with a graphics card. It could be a bad graphics card, something with 8 gigs of VRAM on it. But
8 gigs is bad. Oh my god.
Oh my god, it is. Yeah.
Remember when it was good?
Dude, I can't. It's basically a potato now. But get something like that. Install Ubuntu on it. Get micro K8s running on it, and create a Helm chart that stands up Olama and OpenUI, and get a model running on that computer. It's going to be a pain in the butt. You're going to hit a bunch of issues, but you're going to learn things like operators, networking, hardware, like how to run models, what resource constraints are. But you should stand up your own model that generates images, train it on your face and generate, your face as like a solid snake or some character you want to be. Just something cool where you can use it afterwards and be proud of it.
But Jesse, what if you hate AI?
I'm sorry. If you hate AI, you're gonna have to leave tech. Like, from what I'm seeing right now, and again, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but from what I'm seeing, not only is AI here to stay, but the people who are learning it, they're moving so much faster than the people who aren't. Like, people who learned how to Google properly, like, shot off and left the people behind that refused to use Google. And in 10 years they were so far behind. AI, if you're a year behind, you're in trouble. And so, I mean, unfortunately, AI has gotten to the point right now where it is good enough to enhance a person's ability at their current work. AI can't do their jobs, and it still needs a lot of hand-holding, and more times than not, you do end up wasting your time. But when on the times that you don't waste your time, man, you are moving at light speed. And so that's the thing. If you're learning AI literacy, in my mind, that is, how do you fine tune a model to be able to do the job you're doing better?
It's just because, like, it's kind of like the Google thing, right? If you have things that know all the documentation, and not know, right? They're just best word correctors, but they're still, that's basically what people are, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's like just trying to figure out what other people are trying to say and spit out. And a lot of people spit out nonsense, which is what
even
AI
if you
does
just use AI to be your replacement for UI, you're in a way better place. I just use Claude to grab me documentation for when I need to do something. And something that would have taken me an hour to Google now takes me a minute. So even if you just use AI in a very what you think is a dumb way, trust me, it will quicken it. And just don't use it to melt your brain. That's all.
Going back to the will AI melt your brain?
Yeah.
I mean, the key is to still think about what you're doing at work, right? Not just forfeit it to AI to do whatever, right? But it is actually, talking about AI literacy for a second, and the last job, there was a job I interviewed for, and they said, "Hey, how have you used AI or work to enhance your stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, my previous employer didn't want us using AI," which was true. Right. But I was surprised that in the interview, they were like, "How do you use AI to improve your workflows and whatnot?"
And well, because a lot of companies are doing what your friend's company is doing. They want everyone to use AI because what they're being told is if you don't use AI, you'll be left in the dust.
And that's why he's also very much considering like leaving tech, and it's like you just can't find anything that pays as well. So what can you do?
So to everybody listening, start learning some stuff outside of your current job function. A lot of companies are doing full stack, so don't fight the curb and start using AI. Do it. My thing, I would say, try to stop using UI as much as possible. Get some sort of AI CLI or desktop and start using it for your initial Googling. Now, it's careful. It hallucinates all the time. You need to be very specific and tell it to search for you, but start using it, see if it works for you. Play around with it.
Anywho, good luck to my friend. And good luck to everybody else out there trying to navigate all the skill sets that you kind of need to be active in this world.
And that was our containerized conversation. I'm Jesse Caffarelli.
I'm Josh Warhurst. Have a great night.